Good morning. My name is Raymond Hicks, and of course, I'm here to speak about a lot of different events that took place in my life. I'm actually from Vero Beach. That's where I was born and raised and grew up at. A little small town called Gifford, Florida. It's unbelievable what transpired in my situation. Just to elaborate about it, I'm a former deputy sheriff for the Bar Sheriff Office, and I went through a series of events when I began to speak out against corruption within my department. Where I was actually working with the Drug Task Force, OCD, which is organized crime, the Cradle, within 1,000 feet of the school, 3 years in the state penitentiary, if a subject get caught within 1,000 feet of the school. Growing up, it was very difficult for me. My dad really didn't care for cops, and I was really enthused by officers. When they came around, they actually allowed us to look at the gun and, look at the handcuffs, and they told us the pros and cons about the weapon, how you shouldn't play with guns and that sort of thing. And I was fascinated by officers. And of course, I said to my father that one day I would become a police officer myself. My dad said to me, he said, "Son, listen, you don't want to get involved with cops. They're cruel and they're corrupt, and you don't want to have no affiliation with them." And of course, I received a scholarship to go play football up in Missouri Southern State College, which is a university now in Joplin, Missouri. I was an All-American there. And I basically went into criminal justice. And of course, I said if I didn't make it to the pros, that's what I would do, for my life. I got on with the Bar Sheriff Office back in 1986, 11/17/1986, as a detention officer. And while I worked as a detention officer, I found out that there were a lot of inmates coming in saying that they were being abused and mistreated by law enforcement officials, where they was playing drugs, beating them to the ground, taking money from them. And I just basically said to them, "Listen, man, I can't believe what you guys are describing to me. Not everybody that's out there in the streets are getting arrested, with cops are planting drugs and beating them to the ground and taking money and this sort of thing." And I said, what you guys need to do is take a personal interest within yourself, identify who you are, and concentrate on what you want to do in life. And of course, that implored me to go through the Crossover Academy back in 1996 up in Palm Beach. I paid my way to go to school up there, from correction to law enforcement. I graduated out of the academy, and then I came back out with BSO, began to patrol the streets, riding as a 10-12 for a short period of time. And then ultimately I began to work with the narcotics operation, as I mentioned earlier before. While I was out there, BSO was actually manufacturing drugs and giving to us to be sold in the street, which is entrapment. They was planting drugs on black offenders, beating them to the ground, taking money from them, and I said something about it. And when I said something about it, that became my dilemma. I was arrested, I was detained for almost 2 years, faced with natural life imprisonment, and they basically said that I went to various states, delivered 350 kilograms of cocaine that was equivalent to over $700 million. They never forget that day. I went to work on June 15, 2000, and I was placed back inside the jail. And I was working on the 6th floor, and when I came home, I went and got a nap. I woke up around about 5:30, went to my backyard, and that's where I began to work out. And I looked across the street and I saw what I thought to be the Drug Task Force or the SWAT team mounting up across the street from where I live. And lo and behold, when they saw me, they all jumped in their cars and sped it down the back street. So I decided to walk to the front of my yard, and that's where I was approached by over 50, 55, 60 some cops from the Bar Sheriff Office at gunpoint. And they said, "Are you Raymond Hicks?" I said, "You guys know that I'm Raymond Hicks." And they said, "We have a warrant for your arrest." I said, "For what?" And they would explain to me what they were there for. And a black gentleman actually came to me and placed his hand on my shoulder, who I knew from the sheriff department. He was a sergeant. And he says, "Ray, if you haven't done anything wrong, don't worry about it. It all fanned out in your favor." So by me knowing this, brother, I just listened to him. Of course, they handcuffed me. My kids were screaming and yelling. At the time, they was probably about 12 or 13 or 7 or 8 years of age. My wife had gone to Winn-Dixie to go pick up some food or whatnot. And when she arrived at the house, she began to pat her chest, and she began to ask them what's going on. They told her to get the F back, and if she didn't, then they would actually take her along with me. A black guy, deputy, placed handcuffs on me, placed me in the back seat of his cruiser, police car. They transported me to District 5, which is a substation. Once I arrived there, they basically booked me in there and they took me over to the city jail. When I arrived at the city jail, that next morning, the marshals came to pick me up. And when the marshals came, I said, wait a minute, this is crazy. I said, well, why are you guys here? And they said, well, we're here to take you to court. I said, this must be serious, because the marshals don't really come and pick anybody up unless there's a serious problem. And I said, no one have told me what I'm being arrested for. I said, well, can you guys tell me what I'm being arrested for? And at that particular time, they said, Mr. Hicks, we can't tell you anything right now. Our job is just to escort you to court. So they handcuffed me and shackled me. They took me to magistrate court over the federal courthouse. And I knew they was serious at that particular time, because I'm saying I'm arrested by BSO, but yet still the marshals is coming to get me. Something is wrong with this picture. So I get there to magistrate, and the judge, the DA says to the judge, when Mr. Hicks is at work, he's in the top 10% of his department. But when he's not at work, he's into other curricular activity, such as transporting 350 kilograms of cocaine to various states. And I begin to look at my mother and my wife, and I'm saying, how is it, that I was a highly decorated officer and I'm being accused of something that I have not done? And of course, I just lost it at that particular time. And my mom said, just calm down, son, just calm down. I said, calm down, Mom. These people are telling me that I'm faced with natural life imprisonment. And then the judge said that I wasn't a flight risk because I didn't have a passport, but I was a menace to society. And I'm saying to myself, how can I be a menace to society when I was a Gold Cross recipient? I was a Silver Cross recipient. I was 2-time Deputy of the Month. And here it is, I'm faced with natural life imprisonment for drug trafficking charges. And of course, the judge said that they were going to detain me, and they'll get back with me further. The marshals came back into the court, handcuffed me and shackled. Well, I was already handcuffed and shackled, and they escorted me to a holding cell. When I got to the holding cell, my co-defendants that was sitting there, there was about 5 of them that was there. And literally, I was getting ready to swing on every last one of them, because I felt like, you guys must have said something that was wrong that caused me to be here. Why the freak am I in here for something I have no knowledge of? And the guys said, man, Ray, we haven't done anything to you, man. You may want to check with your department. And next thing you know, they actually transport me down to the Federal Detention Center in Miami. And when they transport me down to the Federal Detention Center in Miami, they strip searched me. They had me take off all my clothes and, basically run my fingers through my hair. They had me turn around, bend over, cough to see if I had anything in my anal, And then after that, they actually gave me a jumper. And they placed me in an orange jumper, and they took me up to the shoe. And when I got up to the shoe, they placed me in a hole. And I said, why am I being put in the hole? And they said, well, this is where we were told to put you. Well, when I arrived there, I stayed there for 5 months. Total darkness.